Today we're going to start installing Digitrax decoders into two F units. These are Stewart, manufactured by Stewart. They belong to one of the members of the club, and they both have cathode drives. They are both DCC, but I'm going to install a new Digitrax decoder with sound in both of these, and I have the other one right here. So we've got number 65 and a number 63, Western Maryland. So we'll get started here and see how much of this we can capture on video, and see if we can make. I would like, what I want to try to do with this video is from start to finish, I want to put one of these decoders in. I may do both of them on video, but since these are similar locomotives, I don't think that I'll have to. I may not even want to. I'm not sure yet. I think it'd be kind of interesting to get one from start to finish, and that way, if anybody's on the fence about putting a decoder in a locomotive, maybe this will answer some of their questions. So let's get started here, and we'll see how this turns out. But first we'll open this up, and I believe these are fairly easy to open up. Now hopefully I'm going to have this at one camera angle, I think, for the whole time. So if my hands get in the way, I don't know. I'm not really going to be watching in the camera, trying to go back and forth. So we'll see how this we'll see how this turns out. I've never tried filming one of these while I'm doing it. So, and maybe this way, if I lose a piece, I will be able to find it on the camera easier. So I just kind of lay all this stuff over to the side. Get that all pulled out of there. Back over here to the front. I don't know if you could see that. I doubt you can see that, but those are just clipped in. There could be some long periods of silence here too while I'm taking things apart. So these Stewart locomotives really come apart really well. Just kind of a quick look around here. Now, I am not going to upgrade the lighting on this. I'm just going to leave it all the way it is, and so we'll go from there. Oh, that's interesting. The way that's connected from the trucks picks up its power. If you can see that right there, basically there is just a post, and they have a little JST connector on there, and that just slides up. Now that I haven't I haven't ran across that before. That's kind of a neat feature. I don't know if I like that too well or not, but I guess you can see that wire back here. When I turn this truck, you can see it move. Well, I must have just hit it there, but it will move with the truck. So that's interesting. But okay. So let's get into this a little farther. Now the boards that I have, I always end up wiring my own boards. I see this has an 8-pin connector on it. And I may have I have an extra 8-pin connector. I usually just buy the hardwired ones. Because they're fairly easy to install. So now the one thing with these Digitrax decoders, they're really good decoders. They're easy to install. But what I have found, I have installed a few and then had trouble with the power connection. And what it always is every time, make sure that you have this connector plugged in. This is your 9-pin side. This is where your power comes in and your lighting functions and where your motor hookup is. But just make sure you get those plugged in nice and tight. So, and you got your sound, your capacitor for your sound in case you have a spot of bad track. So set that back there. I'm going to pull this off. See what we have under here, because I haven't taken one of these apart. I've done a couple other Stewarts, and they were different. Now that makes that easy to unplug the power connections. Those are just little tabs. They've got a bar soldered on the board. There's a bar soldered across the board right there. And those are just little metal tabs that sit in there. So let me see if I can get that pushed out from underneath there. Okay, there's that side. Now I can lift that side up. Just kind of study this for a second. So that is the whole. Actually, I probably could have just got a sound plug. For that. So Anyway, let's, I think, well, I've got these, so I'll end up removing that. And I do like to go through and mark these, and I'll mark it on the flywheel. This is the front. I just put an F on the front, put an R back here on the rear. I'll mark the chassis too, rear and front. So that way, if I ever start to get confused, I'll know which way's up, so to speak. So, oh, there, I just kicked my stand. So let's go ahead. I'm going to take some styrene here, and basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to replicate this board the size of it, so I'll have something to mount my decoder to. I've got my styrene here. This is 025 styrene. I don't like that for thickness. I think that I will get, I have some thicker. Well, I thought I had some thicker. I think we'll go with this. So, I always have a mess. Actually, I have a piece here that will work. Okay, I won't have to cut anything special. I thought I had a little piece there laying around. So this is 40,000 styrene. That's what I wanted. What I'll end up doing, I'll take and kind of make me a little board right there. Let me get this up here where you can see it a little better. I'll make a board to bridge that right there, and then I can lay the decoder on that. So let me just cut this off. Get a little neater. So that'll give me my board to set in there, and I'll be able to lay that decoder right in there. Now what I plan on, this looks like I'll be able to take this speaker, get some of these extra wires out of the way, and I will be able to lay that speaker. I'll put a little platform across there. I'll be able to set that right there. Actually, I'll just be able to glue that right there. Looks like someone had an accident with that in that shell. I'm really not sure what all of the tape is right there, unless something's cracked. I don't know what that is. Anyway, I think that this will work out nicely. Okay. A little bit of planning never hurt anything. Now let's get that out of the way for a second. Take this board, use it as a guide, and I will just mark that real quick. Mark that real quick. Okay, let's see. We'll break out our pin vise here. See what we can do. Now, depending on how long this video is, I will probably run it at several times normal speed. That way you won't have to sit and watch everything if you don't want to, but we'll see if we can get it through a little quicker that way. And we'll take and drill this out. It's a great thing about this styrene. It is easy to work with. Okay. Get some of this stuff out of the way. Let's see how we did here. To get my handy dandy little flashlight out. There's one. There's the other. Looks like we matched that up really well. Okay. Now the other thing I like to do when I have these locomotives apart, while I'm here, I take and I lubricate the gearboxes, because that'll help us when we go to speed match this locomotive. And I use this is a PTFE grease. So, kind of roll that around a little bit. Get some of that moved around. Everything else there looks good. Now after I get the decoder installed, I will go through and I will clean these wheels. If you can pick this up on if you can see that, there is a lot of grime on these wheels. I don't know how clear that'll come, but I'll take my rotary tool and go through that, and that'll really help that out. That'll help the electrical pickup out anyway. So now before I go ahead and install that, I am going to take, and the motor mounts on this, there are, well, that's really hard to see. There are copper contacts on this motor, top and bottom, and I always have the wiring instructions in front of me, because if I don't, I always miss or forget one thing. I know the motor is gray and orange. So let me get my flux out. Get that. Get my solder out. This is a brand new soldering iron, so I need to wet my sponge down so I have something to clean off with. I believe that's enough water. And I'll go ahead and I will put a little dab of flux on my copper that is coming off the motor. That way I'll be able to get that. Yeah, we'll try this new soldering iron out. It's a Weller WES D51, and the pencil tip, it already comes pre-tinned. So we'll heat this up a little bit. See if we can get it to take some solder. Turn that temperature up a little bit. See what. So about 450 looks good right there. Get this one bent over here. That way I can get a better shot at it. Okay, so now that both of those are in there, I will take and we'll see if we can get this plate in here, or a little piece of styrene that we made our plate out of. Okay, there's that side. me get out my little magnet, magnetize my screwdriver. That way I can hold on to that. Get that out of there. That works better. Okay. So there we've got our plate installed. Over here on the engineer's side, that is our bottom pickup. And that'll be the, let's see, I believe that is the positive side of the motor. I believe I'm right. So, anyway, okay, now I will take, and since, let's see, the two connections that I will be using for this are the orange and the gray. The orange will go on the positive side, and the gray will be our negative side. So, I'll try and get those wires out of the way. Find my strippers. It's a good set of Klein strippers for this. Of course, now this is the 11047 set of strippers. Goes anywhere from 22 gauge to 30 gauge, and that's for solid wire. Of course, now this is stranded, but I use it on the stranded. Now I won't have to cut these very long, or I'll cut them off kind of short. I'll probably end up setting that decoder somewhere right in there, so the motor terminals will be right underneath of this plug. So I can cut these fairly short. And I do like to use another pair of cutters. I use a pair of these track cutters. This is a bad set because I tried to cut some hardened wire with it. Don't cut hardened wire with track cutters. It doesn't work out real well. So we'll cut that off. When I first started doing these installs, I would leave wire long, and then you run into problems tucking the wire away. So I try to cut these as short as I can, and it's better to cut them as short as you can. So I'll take and dab a little bit of flux on those wires. Get a little solder there on the tip of my gun, and tin those wires. That way I can just set it on there, and we'll heat it up. May have to turn that temperature up just a touch more. There we go. Okay. So our bottom, our orange goes on the bottom, which that will be over here. I need to, I like to use some shrink tubing on these connections. Little insulation never hurts. I believe this is 3/32. It's either 3/32 or 16th inch. I don't remember which one it is. So I can get that to slide down over that. Slide it up onto our decoder first, and I know my hand is going to be in the way an awful lot here. I'm not trying to do that on purpose, but now let's try this. Let me run that on there like that. Turn that up a little bit. Okay, there's our black, or our orange. Get my gray. And if we do happen to get these on the wrong side of the motor leads, you can change a CV to get to make your direction correct. So I'm not too worried about it. I do like to wire it in the correct direction. Okay, now I'll take my heat shrink. I have to hold this down a little bit, or hold this. Way this will also kind of isolate, that'll isolate that from the motor, or from the mount, or motor, the side of the locomotive. Let me get this other one in here now. And when I post this, I am going to try not to edit it any at all. So please no comments on my language mistakes. Seems the older I get, the worse it gets. So anyway, down a little bit. Hopefully it'll slide down a little further. Okay. Take the soldering iron, heat those up. Like I say, this is a new soldering iron too, and I have to get used to the settings on it. My other one hasn't been adjustable. I think I'll run that up around 500. So now what we'll end up doing is back to the instructions with the wiring. So what I need to do on the fireman's side, I will run a black wire from side to side here, and then on the engineer side I will have a red wire from side to side, and then they'll tie in the red wire on a decoder. And I wonder, I've never tried this. Let me try this. I may be able to take my red wire, I'll strip it at a given distance up here, and then solder that. That'll give me that. Then I can take and run this wire back underneath. And back to the rear pickup. I think I will try that. So I can strip this. Let's give that a little extra length. Trying to be extra careful so I don't want to tear. It would probably be just as easy for me. Yeah, I figured that. Okay. We'll cut it, strip it, and I'll tin that up. Take a little flux. Put a little flux down here on that while I'm at it. Okay, there's that. Make sure my red is my fireman's side, or the engineer's side. Red is the engineer's side. So us another piece of heat shrink. So I'll cut 4. Since I have 4 pickups. The other piece of wire that I cut off for the length, I can go ahead and strip that. Put a little solder on it there. Get that tinned up. We'll go there. Let me get a little flux. Make sure that I've got some solder there. Okay. And that is a regular JST connection. Crimp that in there. That will heat that up. And that is still loose on that end, so I can get my heat shrink over it here in a second. Cut that down a little bit. One with the heat shrink tubing. Don't need all of that wire. Run that under there. if you can see this, which you probably can't, I am twisting my two red wires together. And then I will touch them, heat them up, get them soldered together there real quick. Okay. Almost forgot my heat shrink. Let me put it down over. That didn't work. Okay. There's that. There's always something with these. Seems like every one I do, there is a little difference. So I've got that clipped together, but I want to solder it. So we'll get a little more solder there. A little flux, I mean. So there's my engineer side hooked up. Slide the heat shrink down. We can do the same with our black wire on the fireman's side. So I will let's see, that's about equal length there. Stripped off. Okay, we'll go back here to the back. Fold that down. Come in. A little more solder. Heat shrink. Okay. Let's see. I don't think. Well, yeah, okay. My battery, well, my camera just kind of flashed at me. I thought it was going to go off. Got this side. Flux. Get that all tinned up. Some of these, and if you leave them long too, they start getting in your way. These together again. Twist them up. A little bit of heat. The shrink tubing on there. Some of these wires out of the way. Okay. That. I've got one more connection here. Take and open this connector up a little. Okay, oh, let me some of this gets to the point where it's kind of tedious. Okay, that. Okay. All right. So now that's our motor connections. We can set that on the track right now, and we will be able to test and see, and I'll do that right quick. Let me get set my roller stands up on my track here. So we'll get these set on here. These are backrest roller stands. They came with a speedometer kit that I have. Let's see. We'll get this put on here. I just kind of leave everything loose. Sure all my wires are out of the way. Break out my flashlight. Sometimes those can be a little tricky. Okay. So now I've got that on the stand. Now remember, there are no lights or anything hooked up to this except the motor and the sound. So let me go back to my NCE station. We are going to select Loco 3, and at this point we have sound, and it looks like we have forward motion. I don't know how well, if at all, you can see those wheels moving, but you can hear it. So we do have motion and we have sound. And like I say, I'll go through and clean the wheels. So for right now, it looks like we're in pretty good shape. And we can go through, and these are the the Digitrax decoders with the sound FX. So I can go through with my PR3 and program. Okay, there we've got reverse. Now we're in reverse. So we do have a functioning locomotive now with sound. So we'll take it back off there. This is going to be a good place for me to take a break. That was probably about, I'm not sure how long that took, maybe an hour. Like I say, I'll post this, and I think I'll do a series maybe. Maybe that'll be the way to do this. I'll post this up. Right now we've got the decoder in with it running. The next step will be to mount the speaker. We'll end up hooking up the lights, and that'll be the next phase. So thanks for watching. Program this locomotive, this Western Maryland unit. I've already got the decoder installed, and that's in a previous video that I already did. So to change the programming in these decoders, Digitrax has different sound files, and you go to their website, you go to the Sound Depot, and you can search through their list of locomotives. Now, what we're going to be using for this locomotive is the EMD 567C. And I've already downloaded the sound, or the file. And so after we get this downloaded, and I'll just kind of scroll down through here, and it basically, they give you a rundown of what the locomotive is. And there at the bottom is the sound file, and they have clips of all their sound files. So we'll take this back up to the top. Now to put this in, or to load it onto the locomotive, we have downloaded the program Sound Loader, and this is from Digitrax also. As you can see, once I open the program, it is starting to read the decoder information. And I already have the file that I downloaded, as you can see right here. I have it already in and ready to be uploaded to the decoder. And basically this is just a one-click process. After it reads the decoder and it tells you we're ready, we will basically do what the instructions say. Press this button to download the entire sound project to the decoder. You can hear that. We'll give that a few minutes to load. Okay, we have our NCE system hooked up, and now we'll let it go through its startup, and then we'll check some of these functions. Okay. Looks like our new sound works. I'll back this down. Okay, now we'll try to change the CV on the headlight, and we'll see if we can get that. So here we go again. We'll go back to our power cab, and hopefully this will come out fairly decent. I'm trying to do this at arm's length here. Okay, so we will hit program 4 times. I'm going to use the program track, so I'll enter that, and I want to do the CV. So I know it's CV49 for the headlight. Enter that, and I want to put in a value of 2. Okay, now we'll escape that. Okay. Now you can see that my headlight is now a Mars light. So just kind of move in the forward direction. Alright, so we can call that a success. Shut that down, and we will turn our headlight off. Okay.